This video is about adjusting the pinions on a hollow propeller shaft for FM chassis. So here we have item number 15206. That's where this came from. This is a 2mm hollow propeller shaft for Type 5 and Super FM chassis. And by Super FM chassis, that also includes carbon SFM chassis as well, CFM chassis. So the difference between this shaft here and a conventional shaft, like you see here, the green one, there also is a blue one for FMA chassis. So this is for other chassis. So the difference you can see readily, this is a wider shaft than this one here. And also the FMA chassis also uses a thinner pipe, a thinner shaft, just like this green one. So this is wider. So what does that exactly mean? It's a more sturdy shaft, that's for sure, because it's wider. It's also, look, as you see here, about the same size as the one with the green pinions. Now the blue ones, they're a little bit longer, and so yeah, that's a difference right there. So these purple pinions here, you might be wondering what these purple pinions are all about. So these purple pinions here, you might think that, oh, when these get like destroyed, worn, then you can replace them with this. Well, no, according to the instructions that are right hidden inside here, it says here that these purple pinions here are actually for a motor. So you're not supposed to use them as replacements for this propeller shaft. So that's a bummer, right? So you have to buy a new propeller shaft if these get worn. You can also try to find other pinions for this purpose, but yeah, in general, So what some people have been doing is they've been using pinions from other shafts on here, and there is word from someone that they were able to use the blue FMA propeller shaft pinions on this propeller shaft. I don't know if that's true, I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, I guess that's a possibility. But let's say that you're using this, right, on your SFM or CFM chassis, and you're trying to use it for the first time, and you notice that just like all shafts with all chassis, like all new shafts with chassis, there's a lot of waggle. And by waggle, I mean when you insert it into the chassis and you can slide it up and down a lot, then there's too much waggle. And what you need to do is you need to bang these closer together towards each other so that you can get a tighter fit. You don't want the fit to be too tight. You want there to be a little bit of wiggle room, or waggle room, as Mad Tang would say. But yeah, you want to try to be careful about pushing these pinions in. And so one method of pushing a pinion in is to take the propeller shaft, insert one of the ends into this thing right here, which is a pinion pusher for a motor actually, but you can use it for these propeller shafts as well. And then you would take some sort of like a small mallet, or you can take a wheel pusher, which is like a longer version of this, and just tap, 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 and get this top pinion pushed in more towards the middle of the shaft. And you would do this successively. You would flip it over, knock it in just a little bit, flip it over, knock it in just a little bit, until you get the desired closeness of these pinions on each end. So what happens if you've knocked the pinions in too far? So it's possible that you knock the pinions in too much, and when you insert the pinion into the chassis, there's like no wiggle room at all. Like it barely moves, and it'll still move, but there's friction caused by the fact that these parts here, the top part of the pinion where the shaft goes into the pinion, is rubbing against the chassis itself, the slot where the propeller shaft sits or rests in. It's pressing against it, and so friction is caused, and you're not able to get the speed you want. So that's the big problem with pushing these pinions too close. How do you fix that? So you would think that, oh, well, I've got these like pinion pushers, right? These pinion pullers, we'll call them. So here, like I could try to use this and try to push through, but this was actually made for these smaller diameter propeller shafts, so that this pin right here would basically fit right in there, and it doesn't go inside, it just pushes against the metal, so that once this is braced, like you see here, you push it in by twisting, then what happens is, like, friction causes the green pinion to stay put and the metal shaft to push outward because the pin is pushing against it. So that's how you remove a pinion or readjust the pinion depth on a propeller shaft using this. Now, this does the same thing, and it's designed for shafts like this, but however, because this is a thicker propeller shaft, this FM chassis propeller shaft, it does not fit into this slot right here. So it's not going to work. And for this one, it's not going to work too, because look, I can actually push this pin in all the way. There you go. And that's because the hole is like too wide for this pin right here. So what can you do to try to pull the pinion back out? Well, glad you asked. Or you didn't ask, but I'm telling you. You can get a wheel puller right here. It's got a thick pin on it, right on the end. And this pin is the width of this propeller shaft. And so if you remove these items, these two things that kind of like sit and rest on the end of the pin, if you remove them from the wheel puller, then you could take your little wrench right here, the mini wrench, and you could hold it at an angle like so, and then you can place this propeller shaft right like so. And you're using this as kind of like a brace. So this brace right here, you're going to adjust this, eyeball it, adjust it, and hold this in place with your thumb and rest the other part of the wrench against the ground, against the mat, against the table. And then you hold this up and you carefully twist this until you feel the pin pushing into the metal shaft of this propeller shaft. And you could, with successive gentle turns, you can push the shaft out of the pinion or pull the pinion off the shaft. So you don't want to pull it off all the way unless you really want to replace it. You want to just readjust it so that it's not so, the pinions are not so pushed inward. So using this method, you can use that. You can use this as a brace, and you could push the shaft out of the pinion or pull the pinion off of the shaft. So yeah, so you can use your wheel puller for that purpose. So once you get this kind of like adjusted, then to readjust it so it fits in your chassis, the first things first, you use this thing and you flatten it. So by flattening it, that gives you kind of like a ballpark standard measurement so that you could, because when you first purchase these things out of the package, like basically these shafts should be kind of flush against the end of the pinion. And by them being flush against the end of the pinion, there's always going to be quite a bit of waggle room when you're sitting this into the shaft rest in the chassis. So that's why we do this little technique of like using the little hammer to knock this in little by little on each side and flipping it back and forth until you get the desired waggle room in your chassis. So yeah, I've shown you how to basically adjust the pinions on a hollow shaft, how to remove a pinion or readjust the pinion off of a hollow propeller shaft. I've shown you the tools that don't work as well as a potential solution that does work. If there is a pinion puller that's meant for FM shafts, then you can get that too. You can use that. But yeah, always remember that these pinions here are not for this. Even though they look very similar or the same, they're not for this. This is for motors. So yeah, very, very cool. But yeah, if you want to learn more about hollow propeller shafts on an FM chassis, just get this product and just check out the little instruction manual that's kind of hidden, folded up inside. And yeah, you'll learn some things about this.